Hello, traders. This week, I'm going to start a new series called Weekly Review, where we are going to analyze what happened in the current week, how did the trades go, how did the account perform, etc. And we'll quickly take a look at some of the risk management metrics as well. So, this is something I'm going to do every week so that you can understand how I look at my previous week and see if we can make any adjustments based on the metrics and the numbers that we see. Let's quickly dive deep into it. Let's quickly take a look at the performance outlook. These are some of the top high-level metrics that I would like to keep an eye on every week so that I know how the trading model has been performing. The growth is around 6%. That is, we have seen a weekly growth of a 6% this week, whereas it was ending at a flat week in the last week if you compare. And the win rate is around 50%, which is not bad compared to 67% last week. It's dropped a bit. An average winner to loser is around 1.3, which is still lower than my baseline, but I have strongly improved it compared to the last week. And the max drawdown is around 6%, which is slightly higher than the target I have around 5%. And was only 1% in the last week. So overall, the growth is not bad. And you can clearly see I'm able to maintain certain win rate, improve my average win to loss. That has resulted in a good growth in this week. This slide is going to talk about the position outlook. What are the different positions that I have taken over the period of last 1 week? This gives me a high level understanding of whether I have taken trades in the right direction, whether did I maximize the profit or minimize the losses, etc. So that gives me a good idea about how all of the trades are looking in one picture. So if you see, Monday started with a couple of losses. I had to end the day because I had almost crossed the max loss per day limit that I have set in for myself. So even though the trade directionally they are right, it stopped me out before the prices moved in my favor. But that's okay. That's part and parcel of any trader's journey. So I don't have a problem. I have to respect my risk management practice, which is max threshold per day. Coming to Tuesday, I had taken a trade which is in the opposite direction. The flow seems to be down, but I have taken in the long position. So something that I should have avoided completely would have saved me some loss over here. Coming to Wednesday, I seem to have taken around 3, 4 trades in the opening hours. Not a best thing to do. Seems a bit on the higher side. And even towards the closing hours, I had taken 3 trades, which kind of indicate on Wednesday I had done some over trading, and overall it has resulted in a loss. On Thursday, I had taken some trades in the beginning of the day, but some of them, or I think a couple of them, are losses. And 2 of those trades are essentially in the long direction where the flow is suggesting down. And on Friday, I had taken a trade in the mid-noon. Usually, I try to avoid the mid-noon and the closing hours. I have to stick to only the morning trades. So this is one such exception. Even though it's a winner, it's something that I should probably avoid. It's not good for the long term. One important observation from the previous slide is that 6 out of 14 trades are counter trend. This is a strong number on my face. This is clearly something that I should try to reduce. This suggests around 45% or 50% of the trades are counter trend, which is clearly not a good sign. Let's quickly look at the risk metrics. If you look at the average risk, it's around 2.33%, just slightly or a bit higher than the last week, but it's still around the average risk limit that I have per trade. It's around 2%. But the largest risk is something that's completely out of control, supposed to be max 3%, which is currently around 8.6%. Again, not the best thing to do. Compared to last week, it's only 1.3%. And there are certain losses which has crossed the max loss per trade threshold, which is around 30%, which is every 1 in 3 losses, it's exceeding the threshold. It means it's a bad thing. This was at 0% in the last week, but the current week it's slightly beyond the allowed limit. But when it comes to the number of losing days, the max loss per day threshold, that seems to be still under control. So I'm able to control, I'm able to walk away from the day if it is nearing my max loss per day threshold. But I don't seem to have a lot of control on max loss allowed per trade. So these are a few risk metrics that I keep an eye on, whether I'm able to maintain certain thresholds, I'm able to respect my risk limits. I seem to be doing well on a high level, at a day level, an average risk, but one of the trades I'm exceeding my limits. So that's something I should probably keep it under control. Let's look at the key trends. Capital seems to be around flat level, although there is a drawdown that I had encountered in mid of December or first week of January, which is I'm trying to recover now. Let's see if this continues. And the reason for it is the win rate has gone for a toss toward the mid of the or end of the December. I'm bringing back under control. So the win rate usually swings between 60% and 40%, which is a fairly decent win rate, I would say. But the profit factor seems to be steadily dropping. It's coming beyond 1 on the downside, which is again not good. For the best result, they should always be above 2. So I'm working on it, making some adjustments to my trades recently so that this can go beyond 2 again. The moment it goes beyond 2, with the win rate consistently maintaining, should be able to bring in good growth. And if you look at the max drawdown, it's swinging between 0% and 6%, slightly higher than what my threshold limit is, around 4 to 5%, but still not a big red flag at this moment. Let's quickly dive deeper in some of the trends on the secondary metrics. If you look at the R multiple, for every winner, the blue line indicates what's the average R multiple, and the red line indicates the R multiple for a loser. So if you look at the gap between these two, it's consistently higher. Until recently, it's almost similar. So you should always have a better R multiple for a winner compared to loser, and the gap should be very high. So this is again something that probably indicates that I'm taking mostly 1:1 or trades, or I'm trying to close the trade way early. Let's see if that's the case. If you look at the average risk, it's swinging between 1% and 3%, but off late it's around 2%. So it's still under control, nothing to be concerned about. If you look at the random entry, this is actually a concern. If you look at this, it suggests that 80% of my entries are basically random. They are not based on a certain rule. So it's a clearly entry violation that I'm observing, even though at a risk level, I'm able to control most of the things. When it comes to entry, I don't seem to be following rules, right? So this is clear indication of that, and I would keep this as a goal myself for the next week to not enter a trade based on randomness. If you look at random exits, these are mostly under control. They used to be very high in the initial days, but off late, it's not that high. It seems to be coming down. So I think I'm doing better on the exits. But when it comes to entry, it's something that I think I should work on. Even entries also, I did try to reduce the randomness, but I think this week it's shot up to 80%. If you look at the winner efficiency and the loser efficiency, this essentially talks about how patient and impatient I am with the winner and the loser, and what is the potential in those winners where I am impatient and also on the loser. So the blue line indicates that how patient I am. So if you look at this dropping down almost 10%, 15%, it kind of indicates that I'm not very patient with my winners. I'm cutting down them much earlier. Hence, this kind of aligns with what we discussed in the previous slide, where our random entries have gone up very, very high. If you do enter a random trade, or if you enter a trade, even if your analysis is right, if you do a random entry, it would result in a low confidence, which might translate into you exiting the winner quickly, right? And if you look at the potential of those trades where I had taken quick profit, is also very high. It's clearly indicating that after taking my profit, the trade actually has reached my target. So that's right there, a good potential that I should be able to look at and use. So another goal for myself, I should stop taking random entries, let the winner ride up to my target, and not close them early. Coming to the loser efficiency, I'm very much patient with my losers. So the blue line indicates how impatient I am, and I don't seem to be a lot of impatient with my losers. So which is in a way not so good, because on the winner, I'm being very impatient on my winners, whereas I'm very patient on the loser. That's actually not going to work in the long term. So this is again something that I should really keep it under control as well. This one is about the overall summary of what we discussed. Coming to the risk management, which is again the most important aspect to stay alive in the trading path. There's one concern here. The largest risk has exceeded allowed limits, so I should be able to respect it. Coming to the trade management, I'm quickly exiting winners. Again, something that we discussed. Some of the key highlights, I was able to improve the average winner to loser ratio, so that's good, and they should improve further. But when it comes to the concerns, 43% of my trades are against the trend. So the counter trend trades we are already talking about, that's something that should come to zero. Zero is ideal. I would like to keep it less than 10%. Random entries spike to 79%, which is again something that we have talked about. This also should be kept under control. So based on this, the goals that I'm setting for myself for the upcoming week is to clearly avoid counter trend trades, have patience to wait for a trade in the direction of the flow. I also need to be very patient with the winner. I need to let the winner run and not leave a lot of potential there. And they should be less than 20%. The third and the final goal that I want to set myself is I want to be a little more strict about the risk per trade, because largest risk indicates that in some trades I'm slowly ignoring the rule, which should not be the case. A largest risk can never be less than, or should never be higher than 4%, right? It should always be less than 4%. In today's week, or in this week's review analysis, we had seen that it's around 8%, which is double of what the limit is. So these are the three goals that I think I will be strictly monitoring in the upcoming week. So let's see how it goes, and you will see the result of the adjustments that I'm going to make in the upcoming week at the end of the next week when I post my next weekly review video. Until then, signing off. Do let me know if you want me to go in depth about any specific metric. Cheers.